AITA for telling my wife it's ridiculous to cry over soup. My wife is 4 months pregnant with our 5th child. We have a 7-year-old girl, 6-year-old girl, 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old boy now. Since childcare is so expensive, she has been staying home. Money is tight right now and her car broke down, so we have been relying on mine. She texted me and told me she was craving a particular can of soup, so I bought it and brought it home. She placed it on the counter and said she would make it after she gave the kids a bath. While she was upstairs, my dad came over and mentioned he was hungry, so I told him to help himself to anything in the kitchen as we had made dinner shortly before. Well, he ended up leaving to go home and my wife came downstairs. Then I heard her frantically searching for something. I asked what she was doing and she was looking for the soup she left out. I told her I haven't seen it and that my dad came over, but he usually doesn't eat canned foods. I called him and he admitted he did in fact take it and that he was sorry because he was unaware she was saving it. When I told her this, she started sobbing and saying she can never have one thing in this house and how bad she was craving it and wanting it so bad she cried for almost an hour over it. Later I told her that she was being ridiculous and that she was an adult and crying over something as stupid as a can of soup was for children. She told me I didn't understand and she's feeling very emotional lately and stressed. I talked to my mom, who told me I needed to give her grace and that my words were very a-holish. AITA. My wife is 4 months pregnant with our 5th child. It's not about the soup, dude. It's notable that he was fine with A. Depriving his wife of the one thing she wanted, and B. Dismissing his wife's feelings. Until his mom called him out. Then, that hurt that mommy didn't tell him he was right, he came to Reddit for validation. It was not until a crapload of total strangers, many of whom were presumably men, told him he was the asshole did he come up with his bribery apology scheme. Again, didn't matter what his wife or mom said. It mattered what strangers said because their words somehow carry more weight. The op refused to believe either woman in his real life. He did not accept their feelings or insights as real. It took total strangers to point out he was wrong. AITA both for the original incident and for the ambient misogyny. AITA. She's pregnant. She's been touched, grabbed, screamed at, followed, questioned, etc. all day by 4 little tyrants. She feels unattractive and she had a craving for some soup, as a comfort and probably because she didn't get to finish a meal all day. The correct response should have been, "I'm sorry, it looks like Dad ate it. Go sit down and put your feet up, give me 30 minutes and I will bring you a bowl, then get in the car, get the soup, plus a few extra cans and maybe her favorite candy bar or something, and pamper her." What you did was mean. Don't invalidate people's feelings. AITA. How can you watch and experience your wife being pregnant 5 times and have developed no awareness of hormone fluctuations or cravings? Am I the asshole for returning home after I found out that my husband booked first class for him and his friend while I got economy? My husband and I 30s haven't been on a trip, out of country, for years. While he goes every year with his best friend. His reasons for going with him is because they both go to attend sporting events. This year, my husband told me I could go with him and his friend since they were visiting a new destination. He paid for my ticket and everything else since I'm a ZAM and have no job. The kids were left with my mom. However, when I found out that he had booked first class for himself and his friend while I got economy, I just couldn't hold my tongue. I confronted him about it and he at first refused to discuss. Then when the argument got heated, he yelled, "I paid for your ticket, FFS. Isn't that enough?" Then kept on about how I should stop acting like I was royalty and that if I come to think about it, even economy is fine for me since I technically don't work anyway. I cried because of what he said but decided to just not go altogether. He changed his tone and started begging me to just go with what he planned, but I declined. I went to pick the kids from my mom's house and he came back 3 hours later huffing and buffing about what happened. His friend sent me a text calling me entitled, and said this was the reason why he didn't want my husband to take me with them, and I just proved his point. I did not respond, but I blocked him since he's gotten increasingly rude over the past few months. He, my husband, said I keep crying about being excluded and this is what happens when he finally decides to include me. Am I the asshole for not settling for economy? By the way, he's perfectly capable of financing the trip. If you're a ZAM, then all the money he earns is shared funds. There is no him paying, in fact you paid for his first class ticket as much as he paid for your economy ticket. The level of disrespect is astounding. Divorce him and get half plus alimony. NTA. I hate to jump on the Reddit AITA divorce wagon, but in this case, it's so obvious how much he doesn't care or even respect op. NTA x 1 mil. I'm not sure why he even married op, It seems like he's already in a long-term relationship with his friend. Came here to say this. I was once a zom in a financially and emotionally abusive marriage. Leave him. File immediately. File for support immediately. I didn't, big mistake, and there are a lot of remote jobs now. There are more and more companies who are valuing single moms. You were strong enough to leave the airport, you're strong enough to leave this jerk. Also, if you can before you leave, get every single piece of financial evidence that you can. Statements, accounts, whatever. Whether or not they're current. If you can log on to accounts online, paper mail, anything. You want as much proof as you can possibly find. Put a freeze on your credit just in case he tries to mess with your credit rating as a means to keep you from doing anything. Best of luck, you were strong enough to leave the airport, you're strong enough to leave this jerk. Perfectly said. You can do it. Is your husband having an affair with his friend? Why is his friend so rude to you, and why is friend being treated like the spouse in this situation? Whether or not he's having an affair, he's definitely shown you how he feels about you. Nata. NTA. Sounds like your husband is more interested in keeping an unpaid nanny/caretaker rather than a wife/partner/equal. Do you have the option to become more independent in your marriage? Perhaps get a job/side hustle to earn money, etc.? Do you have a separate savings account? Who handles all the money in the relationship? Do you have your own social circle that your husband doesn't interfere with? You don't have to answer these questions to me, but please take a long, hard look at your relationship from all these perspectives, and if it comes down to it, please walk away. We all deserve love and respect in any and every relationship. If this post is a reflection of how your husband treats you on the daily basis, please walk away. AITA for cutting my portion sizes in half at the dinner table after being served heaping portions by my mom. Growing up, my family and I were all fat. They never taught me about good nutrition, portion sizes, and the only exercise I got was gym class. So of course, I was used to all this, right? Especially since a lot of my friends were the same. When I went to college, I was exposed to a lot of new things, and I learned quickly that my family's habits weren't healthy. For years they always said the weight was genetic. When I'd go to lunch with my friend group at the dining hall, I started noticing that my portion sizes were huge against theirs. I cut down my portions and I'd join them doing yoga and stuff. Naturally, I ended up losing some weight. Like size 22 to tight size 12. I really like the way I look, you can see my collarbones. But I ended up having to go back home during summer break, and I've been surprised at just how different I feel from my family. When we would order pizzas 2 years ago, we'd basically each get our own and it would be gone that night. We had pizza night when I got home and I ate 2 slices and that was it. Last week my mom made her special lasagna. I made a size salad to go with it. She always plates the meals and then sets the big dish in the middle so we can have more. Well, the piece she gave me was way too big. So I cut it in half and served myself more salad. My sister immediately got on my case about how rude that was to mom because she worked hard on the lasagna. I said that I couldn't eat that much food in one sitting and she scoffed and said that didn't used to be a problem. I said yes, but if you can't tell, things have changed a little. She got in my face and said that I brought my college bullshit home with me and I should have left it at the door and ate like a normal person. I told her that I was eating like a normal person, that everyone I knew at school eats like this and that we're the abnormality. It's not normal to be so stuffed at the table you're in pain. My brother chimed in saying that I'd just gained the weight back, so stop pretending I'm better than they are. But I don't think I am at all. I'm no better than anyone. But I also don't think I'm wrong for sticking to smaller portions instead of being stuffed all the time. AITA? NTA. You do you. You can tell your mom that the food is delicious without eating 3 servings. And you can tell your brother and sister to pound sand. NTA. Look up crabs in a bucket, it'll give you some insight on your family. If you put crabs in a bucket, they perform a behavior that happens when someone tries to climb from the pail. Whoever tries to escape will get pulled down by its fellow crabs. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of helping each other climb out of the bucket, crabs tend to grab the legs of the one escaping and pull it down. With this kind of behavior, no crab will make it out of the bucket unless someone pulls one out and has it ready as their food. AITA for not allowing my husband's friend to stay with us longer than we originally agreed. My husband, Alex, 32M, and I, 29F, have been married for 3 years now, together for 5. He has a long-time best friend, Jack, 35M, that has been in his life since before my husband and I met. I like him well enough. The two of them have always been close and spent such a large amount of time together that, at one point, I was almost starting to suspect that my husband was lying about his whereabouts and was actually with another woman. I would randomly ask him to FaceTime or send me a photo as proof that he was actually where he said he was, and he would always comply. Jack has been talking about building his dream home for a few years now. The guy is pretty well off and has roped my husband into his planning process with the point that Alex will be over constantly anyway, so he should have some say in things. This has been a passion project so many years in the making that I never thought would ever actually come to fruition, but Jack and my husband came to me about a month ago with requests for Jack to stay at our place while his previous house sold and he worked on apartment hunting to tide him over until the build was complete. I agreed to let him stay for no longer than a month. The official date he was supposed to leave was July 30th. His house has sold and he's apparently toured a few apartments, but from what I can tell he hasn't made a move to rent anything. I continually asked my husband for an update in the days leading up to July 30th and wasn't provided with much. So, last night, I told Jack he has until the end of this week to figure something else out as he had already overstayed his welcome. Both he and my husband immediately lashed out, saying I was being a terrible host and that he needed more time than that to sort out an apartment. I said I had already given him a month. My husband currently isn't speaking to me. AITA for putting my foot down? He's well off and yet has to stay with you while he builds his dream home? That's a bit suspicious. Are you sure your husband isn't having an affair with this dude? NTA for putting your foot down. NTA because you opened the door for a discussion about Jack staying longer when you asked your husband about his plans in the days leading up to the 30th and he chose to be evasive. But why are you concerned about this fight when there's the way bigger problem of needing to prove your husband isn't having an affair? Not having trust between you two to the point that you'll exchange photos of proof is a hella big problem. The seeds of doubt that started to creep in when he would be gone for so long on the weekends were hard to ignore, but he always proved it was just he and Jack there. It's on me and something I've been working through since then. It's completely within the realm of possibility that he's having an affair with Jack. Sorry. Hey. I love you. Thanks for watching. I hoped you enjoyed this Reddit audio story. It would mean a lot to me if you could like and subscribe, or better yet, leave a comment about one of the stories. Thanks and I hope you have a wonderfully fantastic day. XOXO.